Good. I'm good. How are you doing? I hope all things are well in your neck of the woods. With the story, I had to work in reverse because I really seen the characters move from. Yeah, I mean, yo, what I've learned right now that I'm working with these other artists is that so many people have their style of storytelling, and getting to the right place. It's the inception is weird for me, right? I'll go and I'll do some research and I'll just be bookworming, like reading the Britannica Encyclopedia on particular cultures or whatever. Or I'll be in a fucking clubhouse room. I've recently been in the clubhouse room of how do you know you're a star seed, which is just absolutely fucking insane. And then the Emerald Tablets room, which I found to some degree very enlightening. These are all stories and potentially allegorical stories, but that's how we've learned things and have taught lessons through stories for thousands of years. And sometimes I get my inspiration from there. Other times I'll actually develop a character and I'll just have a character in mind, like, that's dope. Let me think of a story for him. Like, why would he have this? Why would he have that? I don't know if you guys follow me on IG, but for anybody who follows me on IG, if you see on one of my posts, there's a character that has a golden shroud, and I drew that character with the golden shroud in the jean jacket first, just because I was like, I had the visual in my head. I'm like, that would be dope. Like, I think I was autonomously drawing. And I was like, oh, it'd be cool. Oh, it'd be cool if the shroud on his face was like gold. But then it was like, why? Why would he hide his face, right? And then you think about like this golden level of decadence, like what gold can represent in a lot of supernatural kind of arenas and shit like that. So I'm like, why gold? Why gold? And I'm like, oh, this shields him from like divine like beings, right? Like these god like characters. And then I started going from there, like, but why would you want to be shielded from these gods? And I'm like, okay, so there was a war that happened, like, 3,800 years ago, or 38,000 years ago. And these people have been around for a long time. And they refer to them as, like, the old gods. And this dude, and then I'm like, okay, so the old gods are gone. So, like, why is this dude still covering his face now? I want to have this purpose. And I'm like, he feels the presence of the first elder god, like being born again in the cycle, and is then talking to one of his brethren about like feeling that cycle or wearing the golden shroud, and finds out the person he's talking to is like the first of the elder god. And then like there's like a whole quote that's there that I made up about like in a whole like biblical chapter, not the actual Bible, but like a religious based chapter that's like, like this book verse whatever, and the first of his kind was the worst of his kind because blah 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 blah. And then shit just kind of like spirals from there, right? How I'm like building and development from the character, because I keep asking myself why, like, why this, why that, why modern times, why whatever. And then like, why was there a war? And then you hear the other guy speaking, like he just references a name, and this name created what he refers to as lesser beings, and he knew that creating lesser beings would come back to bite them in the ass. And he just makes that comment, and you're like, okay, so that's why the war happened. Seemed like these elder gods created, made a living creation, and then that living creation then ended up being their demise. We learn about the cycle of life and death and shit like that, and it just starts from there, spiral into purpose. Why? And then you start going into the development of this character, right? Now that I've developed a character who can feel the presence of the first, like, who is he, right? Is there a change that will happen, from him? Why? And like, maybe him and the last people survived the last war because they were cowards. Now I'm riffing with you guys. You motherfuckers are riffing. You all are part of the story. Maybe he was a coward, and that's how he survived, and that's why he kept his golden shroud even after this great war was over. And so maybe his character development, I think in the last thing for the Golden Shroud, I have him pulling it off, and him saying like the shrouds don't just, hide us from your presence. Oh, I got a follow from Smurgle Scribbles. Smurgle Scribbles, what's up? Thank you for the follow. I appreciate you. Thanks for joining the community. And maybe throughout the course of the story, as the elder gods are coming back through the cycle, this character has to break out of his fear and cowardice to lead a new, army against these gods, right? Awaken other people spiritually, find other lesser beings, right? To overwhelm this. But then there's a dilemma, right? The old gods, to some degree, some of them remember what that war was like. So some of the antics and the shit that they pulled off before probably won't work. So like they got to do new things, they got to find new avenues, and this character has to grow from being a coward to a leader. Boom. I don't know what that story is called, right? But that's